Hey everybody, my name's Parker. I am the founder and CEO of Tego, and we are live. So this is an Ask Me Anything. I feel like I should have some theme music or something. And so if you can, post your questions over there in the channel. There's on the right side of the screen, and I'll type it here. And I've got a whole bunch of questions to go through from all of you. So I'll just get started. So first of all, I just want to say thanks. We just passed 118,000 on our Kickstarter. This is our third Kickstarter, and that's just huge. That's in the top 4% of all Kickstarters ever run, and it's pretty darn exciting. So Kevin Kelly said that if you can find 1,000 true fans, you're in pretty good shape with your project, and we did. So we're at a little over 1,100 right now, and wow. So in the comment section online, there were a whole bunch of questions about the product itself. So I thought I would start with the evolution of the product, and then tell you about sort of the origin story. And then I've got a whole bunch of other questions. Where is this going? Who are the testers? How does it work? The fabric, color selections, the dog, climate neutral, and so forth. So let's just start with where it came from, the origin story. So this whole project started about 15 years ago. I had this crazy idea of I wanted to fly, and I found that flying was really, really expensive. It was a whole lot less expensive to fly if you owned your own airplane. That was still really expensive, but there was a loophole. And if you owned your own airplane and you built it yourself, it was a whole lot easier and cheaper. So with that relatively flawless logic, I set out to build an airplane. I bought a kit from a group called Vans Aircraft. They're fantastic kit makers. It's all metal. You get every nut and bolt and tire and tube in the plane except for the engine and the panel. And I set to work. It took about 3,400 hours to finish it. Over the course of a year and a half. And then I got in it and I flew it all over this beautiful country. And I have a bunch of pictures. I don't even know how to show them, but I think I'll just leave them. So where I was going, there were very rarely mechanics. Went to the Bahamas, up through Mount Desert Island, Death Valley, and setting down at one of 5,000 airports that little airplanes can get into, but big ones can't. And so I had to take tools with me. And airplanes are really sensitive to size and weight, so you don't want to take a big toolbox. And I found tool rolls, and I started making them myself. And so this is the very, very first one that I made. It was out of denim, and it's pretty nasty looking. But it worked. And what I loved about tool rolls is that you can easily see whether you're leaving something behind on a runway, and you can go back and pick it up. So I fell in love with tool rolls. Now fast forward about 10 years, and now I've got kids and no more airplane. And I had a toiletry explosion in one of my DOP kits, and I thought, is this really the best we can do after traipsing around the globe for a couple hundred years? So I started making a tool roll for my toiletries. And this was another one of the very first prototypes. This is waxed canvas. It was sewed by a friend of mine as we started to explore how to do this. Pockets that were specifically designed for basically all of my toiletries and a few others that I interviewed. It wasn't ever meant to be a product. I was just trying to solve my problem. And I found when I'd solved my problem that other people liked it. So this was the very first product that we launched on Kickstarter. This was the version 1. And it's about 8 inches tall. It's made of canvas. It's not a wax canvas. It's a treated waterproof canvas like this. And got a little zipper pocket over on the right, and pockets that are specifically designed for deodorant, moisturizer, toothpaste, razor. dental floss, and a few others. And as you can see, this one was pretty basic. But this one raised about 56,000 on Kickstarter, and I felt like we were onto something. This was 5 years ago, and this one rolls up. And anecdotally, there's a bunch of these that out there are still being used. Rolls up, and there's a leather strap that goes through. When I was working at a technology startup about 10 years ago, they told me about this thing that eBay used to do, where they would bring in a lot of their power sellers for a weekend and basically shower these people with swag and then interview them for just fantastic pieces of information about what it's like to be on eBay. And I thought that was a great idea. So I called this the Tego Testers Program, and I created it with about 15 backers. I sent out an email to all the backers. I was really surprised with the turnout. And those backers came and joined me in a channel in Slack for a year. And we, every few days, I would post a question of the day about what do you carry? What do you like? What do you dislike? What materials do you like? What kind of closure do you like? And, you know, my dream was that the product could basically be co-designed with a bunch of customers. And that happened. They were incredible, not just on the product, but they looked over marketing. And when I was feeling particularly down, they lifted my spirits, and got to be a really nice group. I started off having conversations just one-on-one with them, and I couldn't maintain it. So I put them all into a Slack channel together, and that is where the magic happened, because I would basically ask a question of the day and they would be off to the races, you know, talking about, you know, they would be arguing and, you know, making ideas better. And it was just incredible. So I decided that worked. The product that we came up with, that group, the first set of testers, was this one. And it's very similar, but it uses modern materials and a different closure method, and had 2 grommets and a bunch of pockets on the inside, a much bigger zipper pocket. And then for the first time, we put pockets up on the flap too, up here. This one went on Kickstarter, and between Kickstarter and Indiegogo raised about 150,000. So I felt like, you know, we were starting to roll. I put out a call for testers again, and invited 34 into a Slack channel. We had almost 90 who responded, and it turned into quite a competition to be a tester. I mean, people would like send me their design resumes. You know, they would talk about their tool roll passions. They would send pictures of their all the toiletry kits that they had and that they had gone through to get to the one that they had. We had Alex Wakeland was one. He's an electrical lineman. He's the guy that dangles from helicopters after a natural disaster and lands on the power lines. He gets airdropped in with all of his tools and forced to live for a week or so without any external support. Tanya Musgrave's a photographer. We had female pilots. We'd have female hunter. And this group, again, I would ask a question and off to the races, and they just had the best ideas. And I think the biggest thing that I got out of that group was how we might solve the problem of what you carry is not what I carry. That's what they all said was, you know, some people carried tons of makeup. Another woman said, said she carried so little makeup that one day her husband came home and said, you've got chapstick on. You look beautiful. And so that's now become a thing in our house too. You look very pretty. You have chapstick on. And so all of them started to say, we need to be able to basically either design a bag ourselves or have some way of picking and choosing sections. So we went through a few iterations of this. And the very first iteration was a Velcro backing that you'd put sections onto. And that ended up being really, really hard. It was a great idea, but it was so thick and cumbersome that it just wouldn't roll up, especially once you had things in. And then we chanced upon and a slide on the other. And so you can basically just pull the sections apart like this. and we thought it was just magical. It works better when you lay them back down to slide them together, but here's how it works. You basically just fit it together and then slide like that. And we thought these were magical and set to work creating prototypes around them. And we created a bunch of prototypes for basically all the different use cases that we could come up with. Those included toiletries for sure, and makeup and bike tools and heavy duty tools from Alex, and art supplies, and from Kristen Berbawi, a Maker Go bag. It's basically her set of tools that she takes wherever she goes. And that was sort of the origin of how this came together. So this is the product that is live on Kickstarter right now. And I thought I'd go through the individual sections and then talk about, hey, thank you so much, Strand. I'm glad you're here. Let me know what other questions you've got. I thought I'd go through every single section and just tell you about it and what it might be good for. And then I'll tell you about where we're going with this, okay? So the very first section to go through is this one right here. It starts here and goes down to here. And it's got two sets of pockets on it. The first is a zipper pocket on the inside with mesh, and there's a zipper up by a variety of elastic straps. So these are about 2 inches wide, this section right here. This strap right here is about 4 inches wide and goes the length. And then there's right here, or more sections that are about 3 1/4 wide. And the goal with these is that you'd be able to put long, skinny things that are pretty hard to carry otherwise. So long, skinny things go in here, and then down in there, you can think about toothbrushes. You can think about cords were a big one. So you can roll up a cord and stick it in there. So that's the first section. This section is also the closure section. So this is the only section that has to be on every single roll in order for it to close, is this closure section. And the shortest roll that you could have would be good for, just that can float around. I've got goo in here. This is basically a mountain bike load that I throw into a mountain bike backpack when I head out. Okay, so closure section, zipper pocket section. Here's a few more. We call this the big mouth section, and it's got two big mouths right here with a seam down the middle that basically slide open like this. So when we interviewed a bunch of people about what they carried, makeup was a big one, and makeup had a whole bunch of little, hold on. Little stuff like this. We need a way to constrain those. So that's what goes into those big mouth pockets. Another section that we've got right here is the waterproof section. And this is designed so that you can take it off and throw it into a bin PSA, or you can put in things like shampoo, conditioner, and other things that might explode on there. And keep it from getting all over everything else. We designed this one with a triangular shape so that it'll roll up really well, as tight as can be, even when it's full. And then if it's not full, all right, let's see what else here. Zipper, waterproof, and then I think this is the last one to go through. This is the top one, and it's basically a hook. So you can put this on at the very top, and it'll hook on just about everything. It's strong enough. We've had about 20 pounds of weight on it, and it holds its own. I think what's really cool about it being an extensible is that we can continue to design as many we had a hard time with durability with the clear plastic part. So we had a hard time with the durability of the clear plastic. So we're working on that. Stand by for more news on that. So you'll have these 7 sections, and we can make as many sections as you want. The shortest roll that you can make is just the closure, and then the longest one is, up to your imagination. We've made one that basically strung about 6 of them together, so about 35 sections, and it was 12 feet long, and it rolled up and closed just fine. So, customize it to your heart's content. So here's my dream of where we go. 2 dreams. The first dream is that I don't know if you've been to skincare websites, but when you go to a skincare site, one of the ones that I go to and look at is called Bamboo Earth. They'll pop up with a quiz of like, what's your skin type? Oily, greasy, what are you concerned with? Pores, and so forth. My dream is that you come to the Tego site and it pops up a quiz and it says, what do you carry? Oh, you carry makeup. Well, tell us about what you carry. Is it long, skinny things? Is it brushes? Is it compacts? Is it, you name it. Or if it's tools, tell us about the tools that you carry. Do you carry for a motorcycle ride? Do you carry wrenches? Are they long and skinny? Are they custom tools for motorcycles? Or if you carry art supplies, tell us about the art supplies. Are they paints? Do you need a waterproof bag? And the result of all of this will be a custom designed roll with the sections that are specific to your use case. So that's my dream. That's where we're going to go. And many of you asked sort of along those lines if at the end of the campaign, will you be able to buy additional sections? And yes, absolutely, you will. That's the whole goal, is that you can design it yourself. So that's the near-term dream. And then the far-term dream is that you'll come to the site, excuse me, you'll come to the site and you will be able to design your own roll. So you'll be able to say, these are the things that I want to carry. And then the magic is what happens behind the scenes. So that night, all of the pieces for those custom designed rolls that you've designed yourself will go to a giant laser cutter, and they'll be cut by the laser. They'll be inscribed with some sewing directions and like a serial number or something. And then all those pieces get put into a bag and they go to a sewer, and then they get made, and then they get shipped to you. So basically you get your own bag that you design. And here's what's both cool and sucky is that good. The cool thing is the software is already there. Like you can actually already put together a website that would be able to, drag and drop your pockets onto the roll, tell them where you want it to go, and so forth. The software is there, and creating the spec is there. The problem is that the manufacturing is not there. There is not a factory out there that can do custom runs. So that's my near-term dream, is that you'll take a quiz and we'll design a roll of sections on the fly for you. And then long-term is that we can design a custom bag for you and ship it to you within a few days of you ordering. I think that this section approach is sort of the first step away from mass manufacturing, where every single bag is the same. No matter how well designed it is, every single bag is the same. And what the testers all said was that, I appreciate you trying to design a bag for me, but what I carry is different from what you carry. So how do you make a bag that's perfectly different for everybody? And I think that we are starting as a company to get there. We started out with toiletries. Felt like we did a pretty good job with toiletries, but what everybody's trying to organize is now different. I try to organize everyday carry for technology all the time. I've got toiletries. I've got a bicycle bag. And there's just lots of things out there to organize. So that's where we are going. Okay, so a few other questions. How am I doing? If you guys have any other questions, put them in there. And I'm just going to keep going down the list. Okay, testing. To my knowledge, this is the first time these slides have been used like this. Usually they are designed to be like chest straps. They go up and down and they don't get used all that much. And so we did a lot of testing just by hand. Hold on, let me grab something. So we did a lot of testing by hand and that got old fast. And so we designed something. This is the STS 2000. I don't know what it means exactly. It was kind of after the Kit 2000 and Knight Rider a long time ago. But we wanted a testing machine. And so we took a bag of parts and a whole bunch of slides down to a high school classroom in Fremont, Kristen Barbawi's classroom. And these kids are just fabulous engineers. And they put together this testing machine that's Arduino a motor. It's a 3D printer motor. And then these are industrial slides. They go back and forth. And every time you turn this machine on, it slides it back and forth 500 times. That's what it's set for right now. And so we tested these slides over 5,000 times, about a dozen different sections each. And we thought that was plenty sufficient to cover the average use case of a user. So we're pretty confident that they're going to hold together. We also hung a lot of weight on them. So we've had up to about 20 pounds on the slides and they're still together. When you pull them apart, it takes me a good bit of strength in my back to pull them apart. So they are pretty hefty. Hold on a sec. All right. So let's see. How the slides work. Yeah. So Sam, thanks so much. We tested 5,000 times, no real degradation at all. I think that that's going to be sufficient for the majority of users, and 20 pounds at least to pull them apart. They're also pretty forgiving. We found that sometimes if you really run them, they'll get a little harder to put together. So we put a little silicone on them and that brings them right back to life. So dimensions of each section. Here's a quick, I'll just do a few, but every single dimension, every single section is about between 3 and 5 inches. So that's 5. This is for the elastic strap section. So 11 this way. This is 4 inches. This is for the waterproof section. Big mouth section is about 5 inches. This one is the hook, and it's about 1 inch. Here's what's kind of cool about this. We've already gotten some inquiries from overlanders and other people. They want to be able to hang it with carabiners. So we can just make a new hook section that's got grommet holes for carabiners. Let's see. I did... This one is 4 1/4. And then the closure section, I'm just going to measure it for you here, is about 11. So every one of them ranges between about 3.5 to 5. And the biggest one is the closure section, which is the only one that can really stand alone. And that's 11. So that's the sections. And I'll post all this online so you can see what they are. All right, let's see. Other questions. So we can continue to make sections for anything: pens, watches, heavy-duty tools, first aid, emergency equipment, sewing, fly fishing, cooking. Those are just some of the things that we want to design sections for. And if you have ideas, post them in the comments or come join the testers group and help us develop. We want to co-create with you. Okay, let's see. We did dimensions, testing, fabric. So the fabric is really cool. The fabric is a recycled PET. So PET is the plastic that goes into soda bottles. And so we found a company that basically pulls post-consumer, so after they've been used, soda bottles out of the waste stream and then washes them, breaks them down, turns them into fabric. So a 7-section, which is what you guys are going to get, roll uses the equivalent of 2.7 post-consumer recycled soda bottles. It's made out of soda bottles. It's the interior, the exterior lining, exterior fabric, and the interior lining are both recycled PET. And I'm sure you saw the clip in the movie, but it's pretty water resistant, so water beads up on it. Yeah, so that's how it works. It's tough as well. Of course, I left my pocket knife inside, but there's another scene in that movie where I scraped a knife on it, and it's pretty tough. One of the questions was about color selections. So here's the first color. It is a heathered gray, and we're going to have a stretch goal for a second color that will either be, it can be a black, or it can be the heathered gray that is in the movie. So you guys get to choose. We'll probably set that stretch goal at 150,000, maybe early next week. Let's see. Brian Jepson asked about what's the sharpest tool that you could put in there. The mesh is pretty tough. I wouldn't put scissors point down in it. I would, whenever I store nippers or scissors or something like that, I always put the handles in first and then the nippers part pointing up. Just because as it moves around, it's not a solid-sided piece of luggage. So as you put pressure on it, it's going to move around, and I don't want them to get cut. So it's durable, but don't try to cut it. Somebody asked about the dog. The dog is a Formosan mountain dog. I would highly recommend we used a rescue organization called Love and Second Chances that is based here in the Bay Area, and they bring in dogs now from all over, but from when we did it, it was just from Taiwan. This Formosan mountain dog they're a hunting dog. She is ferocious and loving and super smart and a pain in the butt. And I don't know if there's a breed anymore still called the Formosan mountain dog. I think it's an Asian yellow street dog, but man, what a great dog. And it's a great organization. Many people asked about climate neutral. Climate Neutral is a super cool organization that just started about 2 years ago. Here's the backstory. Peter Deering, who's the founder of Peak Designs, wanted to make Peak climate or carbon neutral. And he found that it was really difficult to calculate the amount of carbon emissions that were not just in his products, but in basically the scope 1, 2, and 3, which is everything that his business generates from travel to electricity usage, but it also includes all the manufacturing and distribution inputs. So it's all the shipping, it's all the carbon dioxide that is generated by the factories that make the materials that he uses. It's the entire life cycle. So in doing the calculations for Peak, he realized how hard it was. And so he and the guy that runs BioLite teamed up and made an organization called Climate Neutral. And it makes it possible for companies like mine to offset all of their emissions. So they've got a calculation tool that we used to calculate all of our scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And then you can join up with others to buy carbon offsets to offset that, those emissions. And, I would just say from a philosophical point of view, I don't think that offsets are the right answer. Basically it's a voluntary. It's just the best answer that there is right now. And I want Tego to be out in front of figuring this out. I believe that business is the second most powerful force for good in the world, behind government, really. And Tego's going to be out in front. And I know that by saying that, we're going to get haters, we did last time. And to the haters, I would say, we'd love for you to be a part of this, but this brand is going to be about doing good. It's going to be like Patagonia. It's going to be like Peak Designs. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be using our voice. And if that's not what you want, go somewhere else. So, sorry to say that. All right. So that's climate neutral. I heard Peter Deering and Alex Honnold speak at OR when they made the announcement. And I think one of the things that just struck me was that right now it's not possible to make something in this world in a factory without having carbon emissions. And so offsetting them is sort of the least bad thing that you could do. And that's what we're going to do. Anybody else have questions out there? Put them in the chat over there. Sam, thank you so much. You know, if you've got any other suggestions, then let me know. Yes. So I love the idea of creating patterns and for the fabric. And, you know, I talked a little bit about my dreams for this. All right, I think I'm back. Sam had just asked about create patterns and designs for the fabric. Absolutely, yes. And I was about to say artist collabs when you said it. So I think one of the best models for how to collaborate with your community out there is Swell Bottles out of New York. I mean, they had such a simple idea that they have just taken into so many different directions, and that's what I want to do. So yes, on art collabs. I think if you look back through our Instagram feed, you'll see that we already did one with one artist. She paints on fabrics and made a bunch of designs on one of the version 2s. So artist collabs would be great. I think what would also be really fun is that's for the outside, but for the inside, we'll collaborate with, you know, like who's the best motocross rider in the world? You know, who's the best mountain bike rider in the world that would be able to help us design on the inside? You know, who are some artists that would want to design a role for watercolor artists, you know, Bob Ross-esque. Those are some of the directions that I'd love to go is, you know, for those people that you know, care. I'm a big fan of Careology. They did a nice review, and, you know, that community, you know, they're the ones that just, they can't get enough. Like they just talk all day long about, you know, the finer details of Carrie. And that's who we want to talk to, is the people that that care enough to design your own role, you know, to even design the components to design your own role. There's plenty of, you know, Amazon knockoffs out there that if you want an $11 you know, toiletry bag, there's plenty of places to go get that. This is for people that want to organize their lives, that, you know, that care about that, you know, want everything to be in the same place when you open it back up, that want your cords to be neat, that want your toothbrush to be in the same place, and that will go after something that'll solve it. So that's my dream. I really appreciate you guys being part of this. I appreciate all the support online. I'm thrilled that we are at, I don't know exactly what it is, 119 right now. The last time I checked today, I only check every hour. And if you have suggestions or questions or comments, please post them in there. And we'll probably do one more of these before the end. And thank you all for joining. Talk soon.